Hello, this is Fred at the Gate with today's devotional. Please read Matthew, the first chapter, verses 22 to 23. And in the New International Version, you'll find these words printed. All this took place to fulfill what the Lord had said through the prophet. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and they will call him Immanuel, which means God with us. My brothers and sisters, I want to talk to you today just about that, Immanuel, God with us. What's being quoted here is from Isaiah the prophet in the 7th chapter, verse 14, that says, "Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son and will call him Immanuel." What we need to understand is God with us. We know that God is omnipotent, means he's all-powerful. We know that God is omniscient, which means he's all-knowing. And we also know that God is omnipresent, which means he's everywhere. The name Jesus means Lord saves. So without Jesus coming to the earth to die for our sins, there would be no salvation for us. So Jesus means the Lord saved, but the name Immanuel means God with us. And this is very significant, God being with us, because that means when God came in the form of Jesus Christ, incarnate in the flesh, that meant that he was able to identify with everything that you and I are able to identify. He was truly God, but he was truly human. So God was literally with us in the flesh. But it goes much more than that. Prior to me being a pastor, some 25 years ago, I was in hotel management, and I was working for a prestigious hotel, and I was an assistant reservations manager at the time. They were having a lot of challenges within the housekeeping department, and so they got the bright idea that I could be instrumental and help change and turn that situation around. So I became a housekeeping manager, but prior to assuming that responsibility, because I had no experience in that housekeeping department, I went through a very intensive 30-day training orientation period. So I had to clean and make the beds and clean as many rooms as the room attendants. I had to polish the brass carts like the housemen. I had to work in the laundry. I had to have firsthand knowledge of every area that I would be providing leadership for. Why was that important? It was important for two reasons. Number one, so that I could totally understand and identify with what everything required. So no one would be able to pull the wool over my eyes, and I also wouldn't have any unrealistic expectations of the staff. This is what God with us means. Jesus came in the flesh so he could experience what it meant to be hungry. He came so he would know what it was like to be lonely, betrayed, tired. God with us. So when you're going through your most difficult times, realize God is omnipresent, but he's also with us. Why? Because coming in the flesh meant the difference between sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is the ability to acknowledge another person's emotional hardships and being able to provide comfort or assurance. However, empathy is understanding what others are feeling because you've experienced it yourself, or you can put yourself in their shoes. So empathy is more of a personal understanding, where sympathy is just merely understanding the experience of others. And so God with us. God is with us when we cry. God is with us when we hurt. God is with us when we're hopeless. God is with us when our friends turn our back on us. God is with us when people try to destroy us. Why? Because being in the flesh, God was with us, and he's experienced everything that you and I experience, and yet, unlike us, he did not sin. So my brothers and my sisters, when you think nobody understands, God understands, because God is with us, Immanuel.